We would allow them to bring their guests in through that door, which is what they typically do, the door that's just outside of the chambers here, and then they direct, there's a flow of traffic. They direct through the door into the center, and then they exit through the door that's in the center. So they would like to, excuse me, continue to do that, and I think normally we would not consider that for other reservations, but they've done that for years, and it's worked fine, so that was fine with us. We would require them to maintain their congregate dining license and comply with whatever other requirements they need to meet in order to hold congregate dining, and it would be at their expense, including the inspection of the hood or whatever other kinds of inspections have to happen. That's on their dime and their responsibility to maintain. And then the question to you is, I don't know what kind of liability insurance or what sort of documentation you need to make sure that should somebody get ill from the food or fall or injure themselves while preparing, that there's not liability to the city.
It's usually a comprehensive general liability policy that would cover that.
Yeah, so we would need to specify what they need to have. In turn, what we would do is we would extend the priority reservation privileges. We would waive the fee for reservation if they successfully met the requirements that we outlined. We would provide them an area, a couple of cupboards with a lock on it that they could put their dishes, because they don't want to use disposables. They want to use the dishes that they have. And that way, anybody has a birthday party, anniversary, whatever, they won't mistakenly use those as city property. If it's, and I think we've done this in the past when they've had breakfast, if it snows, we clear the sidewalks, we make sure that the parking lot is plowed, and we would have to do that for any other reservations that might happen during the winter months. And then I thought we could also offer that we'd post the dates of the pancake breakfast on our city website under the community events section or wherever that happens to be. So opening it up for discussion, if there's anything you'd like to add, change, debate.
This is Sue. I just have one question. On number 2, on what the city will do, waive the reservation fee of the Lions, returning proceeds to the community. What does that mean?
Oh, I probably just didn't type, I probably did a delete and deleted too much. We're waiving it in lieu of the fact that they return their proceeds to the community. So for instance, if we had another nonprofit or another organization that was fundraising and wanted to rent that space, the reason that we wouldn't potentially waive a reservation fee for them is because it's not creating a public good for the community.
Okay, it just made it sound like we were going to get all the proceeds.
No. No, and
Well, we could
they
save up for a new sanitizer.
Yeah, they did a nice job of letting us know where the money goes that they raise. You know, we knew that they had directed some funding to the seniors and to support that, but they also support some of the work that Helping Hands, the food shelf in Forest Lake. But they also are an organization that when families have crises, a fire, for instance, they will provide them funding, for instance, to stay in a hotel or to replace some key part of their, their household, or to board their animals until they can find a place to stay. They routinely put together backpacks or buy supplies for kids in the Columbus schools that can't afford to buy the supplies that they're required. So they do take that money and turn it around and put it back into the community. And I think that probably is what would separate them from other organizations that might want to use that facility, that use their dollars for different reasons, or use it for in support of communities other than Columbus.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Rob. Just a comment to build off that. Just recently over Easter weekend, they had a fantastic showing of kids and adults for a Easter egg hunt. They gave away a bunch of baskets, and like you said, the Helping Hands was partnered with them. So that was a fantastic event, and I think they do it every year. So just shows a reinvestment in our community. So it's great.
Yep. And we've talked about, wanting to have gathering places and a sort of a reason for the community to get together, and their breakfasts have really provided that. And everyone that has contacted me is anxious to see them come back here, and they would like to come back here. Columbus is their home.
Yep.
So if anybody comes up with any ideas you'd like to add to this, restrictions or not restrictions, but
I,
what's requested of them?
yeah, I mean, I think it's a good start to talk about. I think, and clearly if it doesn't work out, we have an ability to go, I'm sure you'll write something in there that it's amendable if things don't work out, so, but I don't know why it wouldn't. I mean, they've been doing this for years, and it's been pretty good, so.
So do we need a motion to forward this?
I have a question
Go ahead,
first.
Sharon.
Okay, so if they don't clean the facilities to, I assume, Elizabeth's satisfaction, will there be a clause that they have to pay the $147 to pay it?
I think
it.
what we have talked about is in the past, we've never communicated an expectation of how they should clean that. And so what I've tried to do here, and I'm sure there's better language than what I used, is they need to clean it to professional standards. So, and I don't think they necessarily would clean the bathroom. And, it was kind of like it was either them or the seniors that were using it, and so they kind of worked together, and it wasn't open to the public. And so I think that they cleaned up after themselves, but they probably didn't clean it as if, the next user is going to be the Girl Scouts or something. And so they understand that there needs to be a higher level than what they've done in the past. And I think it's up to us to clarify what we mean by that. And that's why I said we would provide a checklist or some other sort of document that would make it really clear what we expected, because we've never done that.
Another question, I know that these events are broadcast early, and there's an expense to that, and buying food and everything. If something like the septic system would fail, or we would have to cancel it, are we hold harmless from that? And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think they buy the groceries for it fairly close to the event. So I don't think they're putting in an order for a year's worth of butter or whatever. I think they're buying it, a few weeks or maybe even within a week of the event. So, and I know that we've been keeping them abreast of the plans for the septic system. And I think you've mentioned, Jim, that having this out in the September is going to give us adequate time to take care of that problem that we've had currently. And like I said, the sanitizers, that they are very clear that that's their problem to solve if it goes bad. Right now, it operates according to the standards. It reaches the 160 degrees to sanitize. I'm understanding there's not much to it. I mean, it's just a heating element that heats up the water and blasts the dishes. So I don't know how hard it is to replace it, but they understand that if it dies and there's no way of fixing it, they have to decide. They either go to using disposables or they buy a new one.
I guess I was talking more about the facilities, the toilets and that sort of thing. Isn't it true that the pancake breakfasts, stress that system probably as much as anything else here, right?
There's a fair amount of people using it in that one day. They say they have about 300, they serve 300 breakfasts.
But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, I mean, the problem that we've had has been more about not high enough use. The septic system isn't a problem because of high use, it's because there's not very much and it was freezing up and there's roots.
So we had a contractor come out and do some work on the system already. They removed many feet of roots and replaced a distribution box. We, as the city, are going to replace the sidewalk that goes up to the door and raise the door, fix the threshold. And while we're doing that, we are going to replace a section of pipe because that is iron pipe, which does not flow water as good as plastic. So we're going to replace that iron pipe with plastic and then insulate it. So knowing that the last couple of years in COVID times, the city has used that room a lot more, so the foot traffic going in and out of there has created a lot more frost push on the ground, and that pipe is freezing right there. So when we pull out the sidewalk to replace that, when we replace the pipe and insulate that, that should cure, hopefully, a certain amount of that issue that we were having there as well. So we should be good. Keyword should, but
Okay, I guess my original question, though, was if we can't provide toilets for them, I guess we can, direct them to the Johnnies outside or something, but I'm just saying, I didn't want to be responsible for that in the success of their endeavor. In other words, if they had to cancel it or whatever, so is there something they can put in there for that? Okay, and then the other thing I didn't understand is you said that they were going to direct the guests to come around this way and then out. Was there a reason why? Because, and the reason I asked this is because I went to a pancake breakfast and some of the women were selling baked goods or something out here. And it was after breakfast because you didn't want to carry it in there with you, so they came back out this way, you know what I mean? So is there a reason why we're doing that directional?
What they've done in the past is people have come in here, they go in that door, and that's where they buy their tickets or pay the fee. And then the breakfast that I've gone to, if there's any groups that are selling like, banana bread or whatever, they're in the back wall.
Okay.
They've not been out here. And then they just direct them back out. So then that way they always, the people who are coming in stop first to pay and then go in to get their food. And actually, from a public health standpoint, it's better to have a flow of traffic, foot traffic defined like that anyway. So it's actually a best practice. I don't know that they knew that at the time, but it's how we should actually be directing a flow of traffic through that room.
We should probably just direct them not to have the baked goods out here then. So, because that's where they were when I came. So,
Okay, all right, yeah.
that's it, thanks.
Any other concerns or questions?
I guess the only thing that I thought of, Elizabeth, was the high chairs and making sure that anything other than the equipment that they're using from, or the seating that they're using from us meets whatever the safety standards are. I mean, they had some high chairs that might have been from the 50s, the kind that little kids would get like hung up and dangling by their neck through their little leg things. So we probably don't want, I don't even know where those are, if they're still here or not, but we have chairs that we know what the weight capacity is and that they're safe and everything like that, and they'll be using those. But if they use anything else, like if kids come and they've got booster chairs or something, I don't know how to write that in, it has to meet whatever the standards are.
Well, basically, we're going to have them hold us harmless from all of,
There you go, yeah.
everything.
Indemnify us, yes. So that was the only other thing I could think of that I didn't include in here, but I figured that you'd come up with some good language, so. So if that's, if everybody's okay with that, then what I would do is I would move to direct the city attorney to draft the resolution for the Lions Club rental agreement for future community center use.
I'll second that motion. Are there any other questions or concerns?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I think we would just go ahead and draft the rental agreement.
Yep.
Rather than a resolution. If you approve the rental agreement, then it's done.
Okay, sounds good.
So do I need to call for a vote or not?
Yes, there's a motion.
Shelley, aye.
Sue, aye.
Janet, aye.
Rob, aye.
Jesse, aye. What's next on your list?
Next on my list is Personnel Committee report, short and sweet. Elizabeth, do you have an update? The accountant, we have Lissa's contract extended through June 6th. We are still in the middle of our audit, I understand, so thank goodness she's going to be here till June 6th. And then I don't know if you've gotten back a quote on the hybrid yet?
We have not.
Okay, so there's nothing to update us on there. And then with the associate planner, unless there's something that's happened between last night and now, what I understand is there'll be 4 candidates that were scored and interviewed Thursday or Friday, tomorrow or Friday, and whoever Jim and Elizabeth thinks are good candidates will then get forwarded on to the Personnel Committee to do the second interviews next Tuesday afternoon. And then Hopefully, there'll be one or more candidates that we will want to extend an offer to at that time, and if so, then we would want to have a special meeting called so that we can move quickly on that. So I believe the motion here is to approve calling a special city council meeting for Wednesday, the 18th at 5:30 to discuss the final candidates for the associate planner or the assistant planner or planner tech. We'll have to decide what we're going to call that, Elizabeth, along with the discussion of the accounting contract. And my understanding is that will allow you to post the special meeting, but if for some reason we interview and there are no viable candidates, we'll just cancel the meeting.
Correct. I left a little extra time, that's why I know the planning commission starts at 6:30, but I left a little extra time because I didn't know how long it would take, if I got contracts back, how long it would take to discuss the accounting contract.
Okay. So that's my motion.
Question on that, what time was that?
5:30?
5:30, okay, and that can be Zoom as well?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
It's going to be hybrid, right? Yep. I need a second.
Second.
Yay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussions? Is everybody available next Wednesday night?
I think I'm gonna have to be
Weren't we
on
already coming
Zoom,
here?
I'm sorry?
Weren't we already coming here next Wednesday?
Well, not till 6:30, but
Okay.
now it's 5:30.
Yep, I'm good.
It's planning commission next week, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be
next-
before the planning commission meeting.
Next Wednesday is already the 18th. Yikes. So 5:30 to hash this through. You're welcome to stay for popcorn and the planning commission after that. So it's moved and seconded. Any other questions or anything? I'll call for the vote.
Shelley, aye.
Sue, aye.
Janet, I.
Rob, aye.
And Jesse, aye.
Okay, then last but not least, I just want to give you an update on the animal control services. A couple of council meetings ago, we accepted a letter discontinuing service from North Metro Animal Control. I reached out to Mark Anderson. His contract currently goes through June 1st. He's closing his part of the business. So Dover Kennels, which is his wife's commercial kennel, will continue to operate, but his nonprofit, which was what was providing the services to Columbus and other communities in Anoka County, is closing due to some health issues that he's having. And so I asked him whether he'd be willing to consider doing part of the work, like the kennel inspections, and he's just said he just didn't feel like he could commit to anything at this point in time, so his answer was no. But he did refer me on to a group that he thought did a nice job. They are Companion Animal Control LLC. They're located in Bayport, or at least that's their business address, but they actually provide services to a number of communities in Washington County and Isanti County, including Forest Lake and Hugo. So I reached out to them and asked them if they would be willing to pick up Columbus as a potential community that they would do the same sort of work that Mark did for us. They operate a little different. They don't have their own kennel facility like he did. They utilize Otter Lake Veterinary Hospital for their impound facility. My understanding from Mark is they also, I don't know if they still do or they did at one time, utilize the Northwood Humane Society. So the contract, there would actually be two contracts, one for their service and one for the impound service. But since we only have typically 10 or 12 pickups a year, they felt like they could take us on, and especially because we share a border with Forest Lake. So we've scheduled a meeting with them for next Tuesday afternoon. They sent a copy of their draft contract, which I have forwarded to Elizabeth, and we're just going to go over that. And then if it looks good and they're willing to entertain taking us on, then I'll come back at our next council meeting with the contract that we can approve and move forward with engaging them to pick up where Mark's contract left off.
Any questions, anyone?
I'm glad you found someone.
Yeah, there wasn't, I mean, thank goodness he passed that on and actually put in a good word for us, because otherwise I think his only other recommendation would be to work with Anoka County. And not the highway department, though, don't worry, Jerry, not you. to basically say you need to come up with a countywide solution because there's a real need for this in Anoka County, and right now it's pretty piecemeal, and it's kind of fend for yourself. And so I'm glad we can, hopefully we have an option that doesn't require that kind of effort, but maybe sometime in the future that will have to be the conversation we have. I'm done.
Anything else?
Nope.
Rob?
Yeah, so, Bill, after the meeting, I'm hoping I can have a conversation with you. I'm going to be meeting with Cal Barr and Michelle Benson on the 19th, so just kind of brush up on our issues, so I make sure I'm on top of that. So May 5th, 7 PM, meeting was called to order for a fire board meeting. Present were Al Newman, chief, Mike Swenson, assistant chief, and several other firefighters, Mara Bain, mayor of Forest Lake, Council Husnick, Mayor Priner, and Ms. Murskow herself were president. Brief overview of the meeting. So last year, calls were 118 fire calls in Columbus. 21 of those were canceled before they arrived. Mutual aid for other cities around was 7. They're currently reporting that they have 27 firefighters on staff. Only 8 of those are here in Columbus. I believe they were looking to add 1 or 2 here in Columbus, so if anyone in the public is interested in applying, that would be fantastic. Average age of our firefighters is 42 years old, so it's getting up there, so we need to get some of that youth involved. Other than that, that's all I have to report on that. And thanks, Scouts, for coming out tonight. I'm not sure what the occasion is, but I myself was a member of 414, so thanks for being here tonight. And that's all I got for tonight.
Thank you. Elizabeth, would you care to explain page 4 to everyone regarding our new Engine 2 replacement costs?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor and council members, during our FOIA board meeting, the fire chief did introduce the need for the replacement of Engine 2. Engine 2 was in the budget for 2023, and just as we had the instance with the road grader, he had found that the same instance was happening when you were looking at the cost for a fire engine, and this is a pumper truck. So on page 4, he listed out for us the types of equipment and what we budgeted for. So if you look at the top, you'll see the apparatus, and it says E2, and that represents Engine 2. And the cost that we had projected when we were doing budgeting last year was $750,000. Currently, we are over budget because he went out for quotes, and they had indicated to him that it was going to be $64,000 more than we had budgeted for. In further to that, he also indicated to us that if we didn't, the current proposal is $809,952, which accounts for that $60,000 increase. If we didn't purchase it by May 31st, it would actually be $56,000 on top of that, so it would be more like $120,000 more than we had budgeted for in 2021 for 2022. So as you can see, the purchase of fire trucks or road graders or any types of equipment, we're seeing pretty significant increases. Just looking at from what we budgeted to, the increase is 9.14%. And looking at, which is again, that's the 809,952. It would be an additional 7% on top of that if we don't order before May 31st. So the fire chief indicated to the fire board he felt it was important that we do an advance purchase. And so he was coming back to the fire board because it was outside the budget. And we do need motions from both the city of Forest Lake and the city of Columbus in order to make an advance purchase because it's outside the guidelines or outside the budget parameters set for 2022. So the fire board did make a motion. They felt it was important to move forward and have the savings, and so they are recommending that we move forward with the advanced purchase. And when I talk about advanced purchase, this is for delivery in 2024.
So would you like a motion for that tonight?
So we
Do we
are
need-
looking for a motion, as he does want to place the order before May 31st.
Would you repeat that, please?
I can make,
The fire board was looking for a motion so that the fire chief could order it prior to May 31st.
Elizabeth, is this going to create any hardship for us in terms of what we've budgeted in our capital fund for equipment?
As indicated, because it's a 2024 capital outlay, we do have an extra year to make up for the $60,000. So there will be probably a bump. We initially laid out, or we're laying out $110,000 each year. It looks like it's probably going to have to be bumped up a little bit to accommodate. The good news is, after we get through this bumper truck, we're going to have a little lull in fire equipment, so we'll be able to build up our funds again, even if we have to maybe not levy as much, but take away from future years and build up over time again.
yeah, and just to speak on this, I believe Al Newman did report that this is the last piece to their puzzle at this point. I think he said it'd probably be 15 years, Mayor, if I recall. If
Well,
I'm
we need a
speaking out
ladder
of order,
truck.
correct me, but,
But yeah, we have a break.
yep, so, and if we do wait and we push it off another year, we're looking at another 56,696 on top of that to approve it next year. So I think it's a lot like the road grader and what we saw there for increases in materials and inflation and all of that, so. But
And so I'll make a motion to approve the purchase before May 31st of our new engine number 2. What else do I need to add to it?
In the amount of $809,952.
Ooh, yikes.
delivery and all.
For delivery.
And there's no sales coming up, so we might as well approve it. Is there a second?
This is Janet, I'll second.
So it's moved and seconded. Any other questions or discussion?
I have a comment for Jim. I now have an entity I'm more afraid of than you.
That's saying
Boy,
something.
Shelley, that's what I compared it to at the meeting.
But if your house is on fire, you'll be happy to see it come, right? So anyway, it's moved and seconded. I'll call for the vote.
Shelley, aye.
Sue, I.
Janet, I.
Rob, aye.
Jesse, aye. And we have 2 years to wait, so don't rush out to see it yet. All right. So did we approve the special meeting? Yes. Public Works report, number 15.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
No report. Communications, Public Communications Coordinator report.
No report this evening, Mr. Mayor.
This is going too quick. All right, City Administrator's report.
I have one item on the agenda, Mr. Mayor and council members, and this is part of our audit and our budget meetings last year. Last year, we did have a land sale with our land held for resale, and the sale was to Love Travel Centers, or travel stops and country stores. And when we did that land transfer, we indicated that we were going to use part of the money to pay back the interloan that we had to the general fund. And when we did that, the formula was that 20% of the proceeds would go to pay back the loan, which was the $70,000, or the amount of $70,000. When we did budgeting, we said that we were going to allocate $20,000 to the Blacktop Gravel Fund, which is the 125 fund, and the remaining $50,000 to the general fund, and we were funding capital projects in the general fund, which is computers and copiers and those sorts of things. In our books today, the money is in what I'll call our general ledger, and the auditor is requiring us to have an official motion of transferring the money to the general fund and allocating them to individual funds. And I'm happy to say that it will then lower the balance on our interfund loan to about $635,000. So we are diligently knocking down that interfund loan. So my proposed motion is to transfer the cash balance of $70,000 as allocated in the memo.
So I'll make the motion to approve the internal fund cash transfer balance of 70,000 as allocated in memo dated 5/9/2022, effective 12/30/2021. Is there a second?
This is Shelley, I'll second it.
It's moved and seconded. Any other questions or discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Shelley, aye.
Sue, I.
Janet, I.
So, sorry, I just had one quick question. So we're backdating it to 12/30/21?
This will be, yes, it will go on our books as of 12/30/31, or 21.
Okay, thank you. Aye.
And aye. Anything else?
I have nothing further.
All right, we're on to letter E, announcements and reminders. Planning Commission meeting is at 6:30 next Wednesday. We'll be here an hour before for our special meeting at 5:30.
And just a special note that during that meeting, that is the public hearing for the apartment project.
So we'll probably want to stay. All right, and a city council meeting on the 25th at 6:30 PM. The calendar's on the back. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
This is Janet, move to adjourn.
Rob, second.
Anyone have any questions or comments? I'll call for the vote.
Shelley, aye.
Sue, I.
Janet, I.
Rob, aye.
And Jesse, aye. This meeting is adjourned.